What is your position at the warming house?
I am the program manager for the warming house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basically in charge of organizing all the students, volunteers, making sure that we comply with USDA nutrition standards, keeping the peace, conflict resolution, all that.
Uh-huh. And you said you were helping with the health nutritional standards for the program. So do you find that hard to maintain that? Giving them healthier options?
Sure. The challenge is, I would say twofold, but that's not even it. It's fivefold, perhaps. The challenge is sort of using what we have in terms of donations. We get a lot of shelf-stable goods. Fortunately, from a school up in Buffalo, they make a yearly donation of an 18-foot budget truck filled with shelf-stable goods, which means nothing that's terribly good for you. A lot of canned vegetables, canned sauces, dry goods, rice, pasta, mac and cheese, all the ramen anybody could ever want. So
also, like, I see a lot of desserts, like
a lot of desserts,
cake mixes,
yeah, things like that. We do get flour, sugar, salt, things we do need, paper goods, which we obviously need to keep the place clean. But yeah, it's nice to have that stuff sort of as a given. Yeah. But as far as providing healthy, good meals, you obviously need a lot of fresh stuff. You need a lot of protein. You need some dairy in there too. So getting those things to balance out the shelf goods can be a challenge. In the summertime, we're really fortunate to have a relationship with Canonical Farm, which is a local organic farm right down the road. And our students work there in the morning, and we get 4 large CSA shares, and it's a vegetable farm. So we get all the lettuce, we get everything the growing season here in this area has to offer, and then some. So we are really, really lucky. From about June to end of October, we have plenty of vegetables for folks. So that takes care of the summertime. That makes that really, really easy. The other issue is getting folks to eat what we make. When we make healthier things.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Reese had a problem with that. We were trying to get them to eat, like, even a salad.
Sure.
One person, she was trying to eat any veggies of any kind. And he said that it was, like, he said, I'll never do it. I'll never eat any, like, vegan options. And some walked out on her. So she says that she's trying, but it's not working out. So how do you do that then?
Well, I would say the secret to that is the casserole. I think it's a really underrated food.
Really? Okay.
And it makes it really difficult when you compartmentalize things on a plate for people, they are able to make the decision, well, I don't want that, or just leave it and not touch it and eat at their starches and their protein and sort of ignore the green stuff or the red stuff or all the stuff with the vitamins and the things we need for our healthy bodies and a healthy colon especially. So I think the casserole is a great way to do that. You end up using a lot less meat. You can put it doesn't sound like a healthy option, but a pound of bacon to serve 30 people and to make sure that they all eat, beets and potatoes and kale. You throw in a little bit of that taste there, they think they're getting something a little different.
Okay, so like disguise it.
Yeah, a little bit of that. And getting folks used to it and realizing that it takes time. In the summertime, we do have a good amount of folks that really get into the salads and they get to like things. The more you see something, the more something becomes normalized to you, the more you will eat it.
Okay.
And sometimes, I believe this is true with children too, is that if you don't at least have it on your plate, even if it ends up in the garbage, which can be really demoralizing and heartbreaking sometimes, especially when you know these folks need it, even if it's in the garbage, they still have to make that choice and see and it makes some kind of connection in their brain. It doesn't happen overnight, but to see something and to make the conscious decision, this is what I'm not eating, it somehow gets in there that perhaps this is why I'm not feeling so good all the time. It's not a direct connection, and like I said, it's not overnight. But there is that powerful human thing of like, well, I'm looking at it, and I am making the choice not to eat it. Instead of just assuming, which was what we do with school lunches a lot, oh, they'll never eat it, so let's give them pizza. If you don't at least give them that chance.
Yeah, which is what we're trying to do as well. We're like, as long as they have it as an option. If you see it, if you hide the unhealthy foods, you're less you don't remember it as much that you have in your house.
Right.
There was one person who said that, they're like, why are you being our doctor? Like, we don't need you to help us make healthy choices. Like, this is our prerogative. We come here because we want to eat good food, and we know that you were serving us that. So when we're trying to, like, do more than we're supposed to, is that, like, are we going over our boundaries?
I think it's all about how you do it. If you think about maybe when you were 15 and your mom told you not to do something, or when you were 4, or maybe even now, I know when my mom tells me to do something, I sort of have that very human pushback response that I make my decisions, that I know what's best for me. And so I think it's a lot about sort of inviting people in to make those choices, rather than telling them always what's good, or telling, when you treat folks like they don't know anything, or that you know everything, there is always going to be that tension of pushback, I think. And so it's a delicate way of inviting people and maybe sharing with them, oh, this is what we made today, and this is why this is so delicious, and maybe not focusing so much on the facts about the macro and micronutrients in the dish, to really just talk about the story behind it. Maybe you learned to make it through so-and-so, or through your whatever. So I think making it less of a lecture and more of an invitation into sharing can go a long way, because I think we can all, and I include myself in this, want to rebel. So yeah, it's a delicate situation, and food has a lot of emotion wrapped up in it, because it has so much to do with our family, with our upbringing, with what we eat and when we want to eat it. And it's, for some folks, it's the only little slice of autonomy they might have in their life.
Yeah, something to control, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what SNAP is?
Yes, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
So in 2014, the government cut $8.7 billion from it, and like this severely affected those with SNAP benefits. And have you seen more people come to the warming house ever since that happened?
We did get an influx of sort of new folks in a given month, and I'm sure Brianna has shared this with you. In a given month, the numbers fluctuate a lot. As people's benefits start to run out, we see them more at the warming house. I have seen a lot of new faces, because we've had regulars that have been coming for decades. I've seen a lot of new faces because of the SNAP. I have also seen a great reluctance to sign up for SNAP benefits, because they are so much less. So people, I don't know if you've spoken with Ann Fox yet. She's the outreach coordinator for SNAP and WIC in this area. And she and I talk a lot about clients who would be eligible, and we'd like to see them get signed up. And a lot of them say, that I talk to, or that she speaks with, they say, what's the point? It's all this paperwork for $15 a month. I just don't see the use in bothering with something like that. And I'm sure from your research, you know that SNAP numbers sort of dictate other areas of aid for a certain region in the state. So it is really important that we get people signed up for these, even if there's only $15 a month, because it is that little bit of help, but it is also, it determines our numbers for the need in our area in the state. So it affects what the food bank gets in funding, which then affects us, because we are a food bank agency.
Okay, so you know how much food you're able to like get for your
and monetary support. So things that we get grants from the food bank that help us pay student salaries or pay rent and things like that.
Okay.
So
yeah. So you said that the people affected by a SNAP, they get like medical help as well, or what did you say the benefits they get just from
the benefits? Meaning how much money they get each month.
Okay. So you definitely think the warming house is necessary for those affected, like people affected?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's another issue, which I don't know if you want to get into all this, but to sign up for SNAP, you have to have an address, and you have to be able to, you have to have the life skills and coping skills to sign up for them and sort of, stay on task with that. But you need a legal address, and a lot of our clients and guests maybe are living in places that are not up to code and therefore not legally.
Yeah, they're embarrassed sometimes. They don't want to.
Well, it's not just that. It's not that they're legal to be rented. So we've got slumlords in this town who will rent out maybe a garage that isn't up to code and not legal for the city to be renting.
Okay.
And therefore they cannot use their address. So they're paying a lot of money to live in a place that's it's just not acceptable, and then not able to use that address. So it's a whole other justice issue of landlords not being held to task. And landlords know when they have a poor person who, and maybe they don't have them sign a contract or something, or maybe they don't, require a credit check and things like that a really low income or formerly homeless person wouldn't be able to provide, but they've got some cash from wherever they got it, and they're able to pay for this space to live in. But it's really not, none of it is legal. And so it affects their ability to apply for SNAP. So it's sort of a cycle. They're living in this horrible place. They're not able to get help that they need and deserve. So it's a whole other issue. Sorry, I'm not going to take that.
And what do you recommend for students in the school to do to try to help those affected by SNAP?
Well, definitely come work at the warming house and volunteer. And certainly that's the charity response. I hope that stops soon. That's the charity response to help alleviate the hunger, right? But the justice issue is to really educate and advocate for those who cannot do it for themselves. So knowing about what's going on with the Farm Bill. A lot of people, because it's called the Farm Bill, a lot of people think it's only about agriculture. But it's much more, has to do with food access and hunger legislation than people realize. So it's a horrible document to have to read and understand, but just to but there are, resources out there that sort of break down some of the main issues. So talking to local representatives. Brianna might have told you that we went to Tom Reed's office, who's our local representative here. We went to his office in Washington, D.C. to talk to him about the need in our area, to talk to him about how important it is to support hunger legislation in favor of SNAP benefits for our folks. So that's absolutely something that students can do. When the Farm Bill will be up for review, I don't know when, in a couple of years, I'm assuming. But things like that, and to pay attention to what we're eating, what we're wasting ourselves. And I think to start conversations, there's a lot of anecdotal information about people who are poor, assumptions made about the poor, about how they don't work or how they spend all their money on cell phones and cigarettes and things like that. And to maybe challenge folks who assume and say those things and repeat those things and spread that sort of incorrect or unfair judgment of homeless and low-income people.
Yeah, they're actually struggling to make amends with, they might have diseases and they can't afford to take care of themselves monthly, and they have other people to take care of in their families, not just them.
That's right.
And they're working as much as they can, but it's just not possible at that point.
That's right.
Yeah. But people are just assuming that they're lazy and they're just coming for free food. So the warming house is there to help provide any form of nutritional assistance. Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem. Thank you guys.